Dr. D.C. Gupta, the chief guest of today, Dr.G.D.Agraval sahab, the host for today's occasion, Dr. Parwana, Dr. Bhansali, D.C. Gupta sahab, friends. For me, it's an opportunity to meet some old friends and probably to meet some young faces who would be involved in future in conservation of air quality. Well, friends, conservation of environment and upgradation of environmental quality has assumed a lot of importance in today, politics, economics, everywhere. I don't have to talk about the reasons of its importance. Everyone realizes that it is needed for our welfare and even survival. Within the conservation of environment, I would wish to point out that air quality is probably the most critical factor. One aspect is that we ourselves, as also all living beings, including plants, also non-living materials, are totally immersed in air. We cannot avoid contact with air. And of course the living beings take up some things from the air, like we take up oxygen, plants take up carbon dioxide, and many other living beings take up even their mineral requirements from the air. And all of us exhale and throw some of the products into air. This is not all. Air is important because air is the most effective transport medium. Whatever happens at one place is easily transported or conveyed to other places. I think many of you would have known that the dust from the deserts of northern Africa travels right up to Europe. We often say that the fog we have in Delhi or in northern India is transported all the way from Western Asia. There are evidences that pollutants that are generated near the equator travel as far up as up to the poles, where essentially no other pollutants are emitted. There is a lot of talk about transboundary movement of pollutants, such as pollutants generated in Pakistan could come into India because very often we have westerly winds, and similarly the pollutants generated in India could affect Bangladesh. So this also makes air quality or air pollution much more critical than land pollution, solid waste, and probably even water, which flows only in one direction. And when we consider the air medium, it does not travel only in one direction, that is downstream. Water will never go upstream, and it is almost always bounded on the sides. But air knows almost no boundaries. It moves upwards, it moves sideways, it moves forward, backward, any direction. So air is sometimes called a mad medium. And so air quality, as you would also know, that today we talk of global warming. Global warming is called because of a change of concentration of carbon dioxide in atmosphere. We talk of ozone layer depletion. We talk of acid rain. All these things ultimately relate, and you would see that in environment, whether we talk of plant health or we consider animal health or we consider erosion of lands, anywhere the air and air quality become very important. And probably that has been one reason that though I did my PhD thesis on water treatment, but once I came to teaching in India, I have considered air quality management, air pollution control, to be probably the most critical area of environmental management. Well, friends, one question comes as to why we talk of standards. obviously, this is something that I find very different in our Indian culture compared to what we today call scientific culture. In Indian culture, we always talk of purity. We do not talk, culturally or traditionally, we didn't talk of pollution or quality that way. Now, as some of you may know, I am for the last 2-3 years very much involved with conservation of Gangaji. And the question all the time is that if we talk to our saints, religious people and all of them, they say they want Gangaji to be Nirmal. Now what is Nirmal? And if you say that Nirmal means absolutely no pollution, totally pure, then is it the best quality? And you would realize that distilled water is not the best water for either drinking or growing crops or for many other purposes. And when it comes to drinking, you want mineral water, you do want some things. So the moment that we come to today's scientific thinking, there cannot be anything as pure air or pure water. It's a question of quality, desirable quality. And here the question comes, what is desirable? There comes the role of either prescribing limits, that what we call desirable would lie between these limits. Of course, those of you who are concerned with pollution control, pollution management, environmental management, normally don't consider a question of range of quality, and you only talk of maximum permissible pollution, or sometimes one may say the minimum desirable quality. But I feel scientifically you would never be able to say that everything has to be only below this, because if you go to zero, maybe zero is not the most desirable quality. Here the question becomes that desirable quality is bound to depend upon the impact. If you have different quality, then it would have different impact on some things that are important to us. Now, if we consider air, what are the things that are important to us? Obviously, the most important is our own health. So, human health. So, human health is one thing which we may say that the desirable quality would be one where human health is optimally protected. I think the word optimal, I will just go in a few minutes. But before that, besides human health, we would also be concerned about other living beings, particularly the plants on which our food, crops and many of these other things depend. I think some of you would have already heard that because of air pollution or degradation of quality, some of the crops have been affected, either in quantity or in quality. Like mango crop, mango is very, very sensitive to some pollutants like sulfur dioxide. And where there is a higher concentration of sulfur dioxide, particularly during the blossoming or flowering period, the mango crop very much suffers. And mango, as well as many other crops, their quality is affected, such as on the fruits you may have spots, or in other ways the quality might be affected. So when we talk of impact, we consider impact not only on human beings and other animals, but also on crops, vegetation, and even non-living material. I would remind you that in India, the first concern about air quality arose from the apprehensions that Taj Mahal is deteriorating because of air pollution. And some of the limits or criteria that were laid down to protect Taj Mahal were probably more strict even from those which are laid down to protect human health.